Hi everyone, welcome to Rookies Live. Today we're going to talk everything CG Spectrum. My name's Andrew McDonald. I'm one of the co-founders of the Rookies. I'm actually joined here by the other co-founder, Alan Hunt. How you doing today, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Andy. Really looking forward to this interview or discussion with Nick about CG Spectrum. First I just want to introduce Nick Frieden. He's one of the co-founders of CG Spectrum, along with, I think it's Jeff Pepper, who I haven't actually met. I've had the pleasure of meeting Nick before in Melbourne when we've been down there. Nick, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and Jeff and about, when the school was actually set up?
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, guys. As you mentioned, I'm Nick Frieden, co-founder and CEO of CG Spectrum. My background is mainly in animation. So I've been in the animation industry for over 10 years. I've had the privilege of working at some pretty amazing studios across the world. I've worked at Method Studios, Weta Digital, and ILM. And while I was at ILM, I was a part of the Oscar award-winning animation team for Rango. So that was pretty cool. We started CG Spectrum about 10 years ago. And it was just a bit of a passion project at that point. We had kind of noticed while we were working in the industry that there was kind of a severe lack of talent within the junior animation positions. So we started this school to kind of rectify that, and that was about 10 years ago now.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, far out. I didn't realize it had actually been 10 years.
Yeah.
Before we dig in and maybe talk a little bit more about the school, I've actually got a nice little promo video here. Thought it might be good for everyone to watch, so we'll just fire that up, and then we can jump back in. So give us a minute.
If you have a creative passion and grew up watching cool movies, playing amazing games, and dreamt about working in the entertainment industry as a concept artist, animator, or VFX artist, the path to a successful career can be a challenging one. But imagine if you could have access to the best artists in the industry as your mentors to support you throughout your journey. When you enroll with CG Spectrum, you'll get access to the most talented artists in the industry to ensure that you are well-connected, highly trained, and prepared for life beyond school in your chosen field. Here's how it works. First, you're given access to our learning management system where you can review your weekly assignment requirements, download class materials, and watch your video lectures. After working through the first pass of your weekly assignment, you'll submit your work and meet with your mentor for a live midweek Q&A session where you can pick their brain, ask questions, and discuss any questions you might have.
Basically goes bang and comes back to frame 7. So I got all this area to work with. So I'm just going to start with the torso.
Mentors work within your file-solving problems in real time, demonstrating their professional workflow to ensure that you don't make the same mistakes twice. These classes are recorded, so you can go back and review them at any time. After the live Q&A, you have until the end of the week to address your mentor's notes and submit another pass for a final video critique. During your course at CG Spectrum, you'll have access to a curriculum designed by industry artists and vetted by major studios around the world, custom-created video content and supportive material, as well as access to our student learning portal, where you can interact and network with fellow students. By the end of your course, you'll have learned the skills necessary to produce a polished professional portfolio and have the confidence in knowing that you have what it takes to succeed as an artist in the film and game industry. If you're interested in becoming a part of the next generation of production-ready artists and joining our alumni at studios such as Ubisoft, Riot Games, Sony Animation, and Method Studios, get in touch with us and we'll help you find your pathway to success. To be your best, learn from the best at CG Spectrum.
That's really cool. The little trailer there, Nick. You touched on it before about the reasons why you initially started the school, and that was like 10 years ago. I'm just wondering, have those same reasons, are they still in play today? Have you still? I mean, we talk about it a lot through the Rookies about how there's a discrepancy between students coming out and where they need to be industry ready. Is that still the case today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's getting a bit better now that there's more specialized schools out there. But there's definitely um, the same sort of demand. I think with studios that it's just becoming more competitive with the industry and the skills that are needed to get a job and as a junior in the industry. So yeah, we've definitely seen that that's the case.
So Nick, like we're here today, sort of, obviously everyone's sort of starting to, really be interested in about learning online. Obviously, there's a lot of schools kind of scrambling to actually get their courses across. And you guys, as you said, you've been around for 10 years doing this. So you're definitely sort of at the forefront and had a lot of time to figure things out. Specifically today, we're trying to get information and help people understand how to learn visual effects online. I know you guys have a lot of courses that cover, concept art, games, and, everything else in between. But specifically to visual effects, I noticed on your website that you've got about 5 different courses. Do you want to kind of walk everyone through sort of the differences between those?
Yeah, so in terms of visual effects, we offer 5 different courses. There's the Foundations for Visual Effects, the Houdini Effects Diploma, New Compositing Diploma, Lighting and Rendering Short Course, and a Matte Painting Short Course. So there's about 5 different courses that have different lengths and different skill levels. But the biggest one there is the Foundations for Visual Effects course. And that's a 10-month program that kind of starts you right at the beginning. It's no skills required to get into that course, except for obviously turning on a computer. But yeah, we provide students with all the software, and we start nice and easy, get the foundations going, so students can learn all the skills necessary to just get a solid foundations in visual effects. So within that course, we teach Maya, Substance Painter, and in the visual effects track, we teach a bit of compositing and Houdini at the end in the 3rd term. And that by the time you get to the 3rd term, that's where you really decide what you want to specialize in, whether that's more of the effects simulation, which is the Houdini diploma, or the compositing aspect, which is the Nuke VFX compositing diploma. Other than that, we have a lighting and rendering course, which focuses obviously on lighting and rendering. And we have a digital matte painting course, which is just a short course about creating mattes for backgrounds and visual effects that kind of complements the new compositing program.
Yeah, awesome. I was just, I was looking at the list of mentors that you have on the website, Nick, and it was, like it's an amazing lineup of industry professionals, and you can see that you're learning from the best of the best. What's the sort of criteria for you guys to select the mentors? Do they have to have a certain amount of industry experience? Do they have to be award-winning sort of judges in the industry to get on your school? Like what's the criteria for that?
Yeah, absolutely. We vet our mentors pretty stringently, and the kind of the entry level for a mentor at CG Spectrum is a minimum of 5 years experience in either feature film or AAA games. Most of our mentors as well have been supervisors within their roles in the industry. So while you're working with our mentors, they've been supervisors in the industry, so they know what studios hire for. And that's one of the big benefits of being online, is that students get access to mentors all around the world, working in all sorts of countries at different studios. A lot of our mentors are still actively working in the industry, so when they get home from their job, or they're actually jumping on the computer and teaching our students after they've been at work. So students are learning up-to-date studio techniques, and they're learning from mentors that are actually working within the industry.
Yeah, that's a pretty key point there, right? Like, I mean, that's probably one of the greatest things you guys can be sort of preaching a bit, because learning from industry, that's the key, right? Because I think that's one of the things that we find when we sort of like look at a lot of schools and learn from a lot of people out there having frustrations with schools. A lot of the times they've had sort of their like I guess the people attending the same course as them not head out to industry. They've just come straight back in and being the lecturer. So they're kind of losing any of that sort of experience. And, it's just far too important. You need someone like you guys who has actually been there and knows exactly what is sort of happening right now and what needs to be taught. So in terms of, I guess, the perspective of what you would expect, like let's say a student signs up to CG Spectrum, picks one of these cool courses for visual effects, like what's a typical week? How much time do they spend? How much kind of interaction is there with these mentors? And, just what's that week look like for someone?
So the week can look a little bit different depending on what class option you choose. We have a group class that's capped at 5 students, or we have a one-on-one option. Throughout that week, whichever option you choose, you get 1.5 hours of interaction with the mentor. So if you're with 4 other students, you split that 1.5 hours over the week with the mentor. But if you choose the one-on-one option, you get that full 1.5 hours to yourself. And, working through the week, the first thing that our students do is they are watching video lessons that are custom created for our curriculum. That gives a chance for the students to watch the video lessons and start their assignment. Then about midweek through the assignment, you get the live session with the mentor, where they walk you through your assignment that you've been working on, and you upload the file so the mentor can download it, and the mentor actually works on the file with you in the live session. So they're working through that file and solving problems with you and showing you how they would actually work on that file based on their studio experience. So you're learning those studio techniques from the mentor on your file, which is great. It really helps your learning curve. Kind of keeps you on the right path as opposed to veering off too broadly. So after that live session, then you go back and you kind of fix your mistakes, work on the project a little bit more. And then at the end of the week, you get one more live recorded feedback that is about 15 minutes, and they look at your file again, give you some more notes, and that's just kind of to finish off your assignment and polish things up.
Yeah, awesome. And just in terms of the structure of that, Nick, like how often does the actual course content get refreshed? We know, having worked in the industry ourselves, how fast paced the industry is, and it's forever changing. Like what's the sort of refresher time for your courses?
Oh yeah, absolutely. As we know, software can update, every year, every 6 months. But that is one thing we do pride ourselves on, is having up-to-date content. So the content is usually no less than a year old. But if there's a major software update, we update our courses accordingly. So sometimes it's just a little tweak if there's a new tool, but if it's a whole new user interface, then we re-record everything. So yeah, about a year. That's the average.
Yeah, cool. Just with the software, you mentioned a couple before. You were saying about Maya and Substance Painter. So what's the sort of the mainstream softwares that you're teaching there outside of Maya and Substance?
Outside of Maya and Substance, we heavily focus on Houdini for effects and simulation, and procedural effects and procedural modeling. And in the VFX stream as well, we focus on Nuke, which is compositing software, very powerful. So all of our courses only teach industry standard software that the studios are actually using in the production pipeline.
Yeah, based on that, what would you recommend is sort of a minimum requirement in terms of hardware? Obviously, you're running these pretty high-end packages. Do you sort of recommend a minimum that someone should have?
Yeah, absolutely. The minimum requirements for each course is actually on the website. So if you want some detailed specs for your hardware, you can check that out on the course pages. But in general, the foundation courses, it doesn't require much more than your average laptop PC these days. But as you get to the end of the course, you're going to start noticing a little bit of you might struggle a little bit. So and especially with like the Houdini effects course, which is simulation based, that requires quite a bit more CPU and GPU power. So, but as I mentioned, you can check out the course or the computer specs on all the course pages.
Yeah, and in terms of the licensing, Nick, are they just downloading like free versions, education versions of it? Is that sort of how it works?
All of our students get the free software, the educational version. So for instance, you'd get the educational version, which has all the full capabilities of the fully licensed software. And then if the software company doesn't offer an educational license, we purchase that on behalf of the students. So the software is actually in the student's name. So after you're done the course, you're actually able to upgrade to a full license or keep using your software. So it's under your name.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. And just even in terms of some of the students that have sort of come through in the past, Nick, like, are there any real standouts that are kind of like heavy hitters now that are, rock stars in the industry that you're really proud of?
Yeah, somebody who's gone through the program and then chosen the Houdini effects course, Christian Keb. He's had quite an interesting path, actually. He graduated from he didn't even graduate. He got hired before he graduated our course, which was phenomenal. And he went on to work at Method Studios and then Luma Pictures, and now he's actually switched over to indie gaming, and he's currently making his own indie game. So that's been a pretty cool success story to follow. With the new compositing course, recently we've had a graduate that's just finished working on The Irishman, which has been pretty cool. Alan Robinson. He's pretty talented, but yeah, we have quite a few success stories. So if you want to go check them out on the website, feel free to do that. We also have, we regularly release a lot of student success stories on our blog, which would be a good place to check that out.
Yeah, definitely worth checking them out. I mean, we've seen quite a few even come through the Rookie Awards as well, and it's great to see that that's actually happening, because that's a big indicator of what the school is. So look, I mean, we've kind of heard all these cool things about it. You've got these great mentors, great curriculum, all of this stuff. I think for me, one of the things that, I sort of like about your school is the pricing point. We've got a lot of sort of schools out there that, can cost a hell of a lot of money, and then you've got other ones that I would consider kind of just workshops that, just very cheap entry level, just get a little taster. But I think where you guys sit is right in the middle there.
Yes.
So do you want to just walk us through how much sort of some of these courses are going to cost people?
Yeah, absolutely. As you mentioned, there's 5 courses in the visual effects section of the site. Within that, the foundations course is the kind of the starter course. So we actually have quite a few different pricing options depending on your situation and whether you choose the group class or the one-on-one option. You're able to pay monthly per term or upfront. Generally, though, the course, if it's a year long, it ranges in between $8,000 to $10,000, and that goes for the Houdini course and the new course as well, which are specialized courses. And then we have the other short courses, which I think are around the $3,000 mark for 3 months. But yeah, you can definitely go to the website and check out all the prices there and all your options. There's lots to look at.
Yeah, awesome. One thing that I was just thinking about before when you were talking about the foundation course and portfolios, and actually people don't need to have a portfolio to be eligible to actually register for that course, Nick. Just going on the topic of portfolios, like, what sort of advice would you give to people nowadays, like trying to get into the industry, with their portfolios? They're still, I mean, when we think about it through the rookies, we see, 10 years and people are still generally making the same mistakes that we were making 10 years ago trying to get into the industry. Is there some sort of little bits of advice, for people that are creating portfolios in this time, that you could offer?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of portfolio, I think you just once you've finished your portfolio, or you think you've finished your portfolio, you have to keep creating and creating new pieces for your portfolio and constantly updating it. The other thing I would suggest is look at what the studios are producing, and you might want to cater your reel to that. So if you're looking at a VFX studio and they do a lot of creature work, you might want to cater your reel more towards that style. And the other thing that I would kind of suggest, and it's I don't want to be too negative about it, but a lot of people cater their reels to the jobs that they want in the industry, and they'll get there eventually. But mainly what studios hire for in junior positions are, if say for instance, if you want to be a 3D modeler, a lot of 3D modeling students will create a lot of characters, a lot of creatures on their reels. But the reality of the situation is you're probably going to get hired for creating props, which, can be anything from rocks to a gun. So it's important to have a pretty diverse reel. Show, work that can get you a entry-level job, and then you're going to be, working in the industry, working towards that position, and that can come fairly quickly in this industry. So don't get too disheartened if you don't get hired for the character modeling job right out of the gates.
Yeah, I mean, that's solid advice, man. Like, honestly, it's stuff that, Alan and I harp on about all the time. I mean, it is hard when you sort of, the job you want. But yeah, we do often see people, they'll go out and try and create a portfolio filled with like crazy creatures and all this stuff, but then they don't realize that you've sort of got to go through the ranks a little. You got to start with whether it's a shoe or a prop or whatever it is that's going to help that lead artist on that hero character. They're already in line for that character. So I think it's a great bit of advice for sort of portfolios and how to work that. So look, I mean, God, I think I even want to kind of sign up for one of your courses. But if someone's sitting on the fence, they're not too sure, like, do you have any sort of advice in terms of, or sort of, something that sort of you feel sets you apart from maybe some of the other courses, and why people should maybe come across this CG Spectrum?
Yeah, one thing that we do actually is we offer a 2-week free trial. So that gives students the opportunity to test the course as you'd actually take the course. So you actually get to sign up to the course, get some of the materials, meet the mentor, attend a live class, get a video critique, and run through the first 2 weeks of the course as if you'd actually be taking it. So there's not really much more that we could offer than actually enrolling in 2 weeks of the course. So if you're on the fence and you're interested in seeing how the school works, definitely sign up for the free trial and just take it from there and see if you like it.
That's pretty generous. That's that's awesome. Yeah, I was just thinking about even with the nature of the courses nowadays, Nick. Just with the way that we talk about it quite often, is how visual effects you used to have to know one particular group of softwares, and game you used to have to know this particular, and they were very much separated. Nowadays, you're finding that if there's a handful of softwares, and if you know them, you can generally, and even like your example before about Christian, how he's kind of gone from visual effects now to indie games, we're seeing a lot more of that sort of cross-pollination of jobs into different industries. How do you see, the courses that you're kind of teaching in the future? Like, is it going to alter the way, your courses are going to be taught, and the types of, the types of information that you're going to be teaching?
Yeah, as you said, with the software, it's constantly updating, and there's a big crossover now between film and games. That divide is just getting smaller and smaller. So in terms of that, though, we still really recommend that you focus on one specialization as a student first, and then branch out to different skill sets or different softwares. So you don't want to be learning too many softwares or skills at the same time. You need to really focus on one thing. Get your demo reel ready and get that job. And then once you're in the industry, you can start upskilling and learning different software packages. And, you'll be able to do that on the job as, studios are learning or taking on different software packages. But we've got our finger on the pulse with all of our courses. We're always connected with studios, and they're vetting our courses, and we're making sure that our courses are teaching up-to-date industry standard software and techniques. So there's no worries there.
Yeah, definitely. Look, Nick, as I said, we're massive fans, and that's why we're glad we could actually have you on this webinar. And, from what we've seen over the last 10 years, you guys are just doing super well. Like, we've seen you progress. We've seen the quality of your students. We know you've got some amazing ones with you right now, which we can't wait to check out some of their work and what they've been up to. But yeah, look, thanks heaps for joining us. Thanks for sort of walking us through some of this stuff. From both Alan and I we really do recommend students go and check out, what you have on offer. And hopefully maybe we can sort of jump back on and have another call at some point and maybe dig into some of your other courses and just, have another catch up at some point.
That sounds great. Appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well,
cool.
Might leave it there, hey?
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
See you later.
See you, mate. Thank you. See you, Nick.
See ya.
Hi, Nick.
Hello.